Hello and welcome to the Red of Radical podcast. I'm Jack Moore, your host. We've got an awesome show for you today. We've got what's going on with CDC and Dr. Fauci. What on earth is going on with Wuhan? Definitely hearing some crazy news out of that area. And then Biden, did he botch the vaccines? I think so. And why are the media, the mainstream left stream media, and the Democrats one and the same? You know, they work together, they engage together, and they're really all one part of the same party. So welcome. Hit that like and subscribe button if you'd like to see more. We'll get right into it. So our first topic of the day is the more recent CDC change and recommendations. So you can see here, this is direct from the cdc.gov, referring to vaccine breakthrough case investigation. So one thing that I find incredibly interesting is that the specimen selection, clinical specimens for sequencing, should have an RT-PCR CT value less than or equal to 28. So what does that mean? Well, if you have been following and understand what's been going on in terms of testing, you'll note that the World Health Organization finally admitted by their own words that PCR tests can create false positives. So one of the very important notes here is that users of RT-PCR reagents should read the IFU carefully to determine if manual adjustment of the PCR positivity threshold is necessary to account for any background noise which may lead to a specimen with a high cycle threshold as being interpreted as a positive result when it may in fact not be a positive result. So the World Health Organization admits this on December 14th, just before Biden is inaugurated, by the way. And now we're noticing that the CDC is changing their guidelines, but not for everybody. The CDC is changing their guidelines only for the vaccinated. What on earth is going on? Why would the CDC have two sets? Now, if there was something going on with PCR testing, if there was a problem with PCR testing, you think that the CDC would recommend adjusting the testing for both post-vaccinated and pre-vaccinated or non-vaccinated individuals, but they don't. In fact, we know that many places are still considering running those tests, not at 28, but at 34, 35, 40 plus, depending on the areas. Like many private labs in Kansas use thresholds of 38 and 40. One in Lenexa, potentially at 45. The state lab in Kansas Department of Health initially used a 42 CT on its most commonly performed test. On January 7th, they did reduce it to 35, as did many locations reduce the PCR testing to 35 and below per the World Health Organization guidelines. So what I'm getting at here is that these changing testing, you're seeing the results of data fudging. Really is what's going on. You know, the CDC is now trying to prevent any information or news or data collection going on regarding breakthrough post-vaccination infection with COVID-19. Now, I am not an immunologist. I am not a virologist. I am not somebody who has any expertise whatsoever. I'm just an American with common flipping sense to understand that if you have two different sets of tests for literally the same thing, we've got something weird going on here, and it should be paid attention to. There is absolutely no reason why we should ensure that we're only counting certain specimens that are equal to or less than 28 for post-vaccination, while we count every specimen that could potentially be greater. And that recommendation from the CDC hasn't changed. So that's my question. What on earth is going on? Why are we changing the rules in midstream, a year and a half or more after this virus? We're changing the regime of the testing, and it appears to be to prevent breakthrough cases from being reported and from being collected by people who would maybe point out that, now we've seen this in India and we've seen this in a lot of other countries where inoculations begin to occur. They begin to occur in mass, and then infections tend to follow. So what's really going on here? I think anybody with half a brain could understand that something weird is up when the organizations that are trying to collect this data accurately and share it with medical professionals, clinical and reference laboratories, that it needs to be succinct and it needs to be the same across the board. The CDC making this adjustment is by all means absolutely crazy in my opinion. It should be one way or the other. Now, I personally believe that the World Health Organization was right to release their guidance back on December 14th of 2020. Even though I question the timing to some degree, I do believe that was the right call to make. And as you may have noticed, cases have since fallen as expected. I believe some of the biggest changes were announced at or around Biden's inauguration, which is also interesting as far as timing goes. But that leads me to my next point, which is, Dr. Fauci. Now, Dr. Fauci has been in some heated discussions with Rand Paul regarding the Wuhan lab leak. In fact, we can refer back to Dr. Fauci talking about the Wuhan lab as a potential source for COVID-19 and him declaring outright that no, there's absolutely no possible way. Well, Fauci has finally flipped on his guidance. Please see the following.
Suggesting that you and the NIH funded risky research that eventually down the line is connected to COVID-19. Don't want to dwell on this.
Of course, this is the claim that Rand Paul made to some degree, and I want to clarify the claim because there's a little bit of an omission lie here. Rand Paul asks specifically about gain of function research, and we can definitely play that clip.
Fauci, we don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. 3 million people have died from this pandemic, and that should cause us to explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up superviruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Baric, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Baric and Shi worked together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
And Fauci, the slippery little eel that he is, wiggled his way out of the claim by saying that the NIH didn't directly fund gain of function in the Wuhan lab. But of course, he ignored the fact that gain of function research was being done by a particular doctor who did receive and then receive funding from the NIH and then share his information with a doctor. With another researcher that was working with that Wuhan lab itself. But here, let's listen to what Fauci has to say.
For too long, but I did want to give you that chance to react to his comments today.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually preposterous. And I mean, to bring something that up is really
You're
not
preposterous.
helpful. He was saying we funded a kind of research in China that could lead to danger.
Yeah, here it is. Here, we funded a kind of research in China. No, that's not what he said. But go on.
Research, that's not the case. So what he was saying was just absolutely not true. It's really unfortunate that he brought that up. It really does nothing but cloud the issue of what we're trying to do.
What on earth are you trying to do? I mean, what are you, director of the NIH, one of the highest paid people? What on earth are you trying to do? That's what the American people have been asking you for a long time. We really do want to know what you are trying to do. Please tell us.
So it was just,
Oh, we're not going to get that answer today.
Said that. It was said in an accusatory way that just made no sense and was not based in any fact at all.
That has been the subject of a lot of our fact checking on the coronavirus for the past year. And like you said, there's a lot of cloudiness around the origins of COVID.
Oh, there is a lot of cloudiness, yes.
So I wanted to ask, are you still confident that it developed naturally?
No, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it right there because you don't have to hear anything else. Now, she asked him a very specific and direct question. Are you still confident? Now, she used the word still purposefully. Are you still confident that the Wuhan lab had nothing to do, or that actually, I believe her words specifically were that COVID was a natural infection? And he said no. Now, honestly, we don't need to go any further because here comes all the clarifying statements, all of the slippery eel, floppy Fauci things that we all love and know, that he's going to clarify this thing with some specific immutable detail that makes what he just said unfalsifiable. But he just said no, he's not still clear on the natural infection origination. So what's really going on here? So Fauci finally admits that COVID-19 may have come from the Wuhan lab. He's not convinced of that natural origin. And, gotta love the Zero Hedge folks over here, so shout out to them. But earlier this month, just hours after Senator Rand Paul dragged Anthony Fauci over pandemic misinformation and the fact that Fauci's NIH-funded risky collaborations at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the nation's top virologist, the highest paid government employee, furiously backpedaled over the origins of the pandemic, in which we can only assume was an effort to redirect attention from his own culpability. What have you been doing, Dr. Fauci, the second most popular doctor in the country? Hours after Rand Paul's grilling, Fauci suddenly changed his tune during an afternoon pointer event on United Facts of America, Festival of Fact-Checking, according to Fox News. When asked by Katie Sanders of PolitiFact if he was still confident that the COVID-19 developed naturally, Fauci responded, "No, actually, I'm not convinced about that. I think we should continue investigation. What went on in China until we can continue to find out to the best of our ability what happened." I just love the way this guy speaks. Yeah, really, potentially sometime after, the 29th century, we might possibly be able to, kind of think about going back to normal, Fauci, enough is enough, man. And this isn't everything either. So what we've also found out is that, there it is from the Wall Street Journal. 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough in November 2019 that they sought hospital care, according to a previously undisclosed U.S. intelligence report that could add weight to growing calls for a fuller probe of whether COVID-19 virus may have escaped from the laboratory. If this doesn't scare you, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to really put this in context as to what happened. This is an intelligence report. An intelligence report that stated 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough in November 2019 that they sought hospital care. This was previously undisclosed. It has been disclosed at this point. All right, this is insane. So we're finding out some more information more recently about COVID-19. As you can see here, this is from dailymail.co.uk. Exclusive. COVID-19 has no credible natural ancestor and was created by Chinese scientists who then tried to cover their tracks with retro-engineering to make it seem like it naturally arose from bats. Explosive new study claims. An explosive new study claims researchers found unique fingerprints in COVID-19 samples they say could only have arisen from manipulation in laboratory. Daily Mail exclusively obtained the 22-page paper authored by British professor Angus Dalgish and Norwegian scientist Dr. Birger Sorensen, set to be published in the Quarterly Review of Biophysics Discovery. The study showed there is evidence to suggest Chinese scientists created the virus while working on, here it is, gain-of-function project in a Wuhan lab. I'm speechless. We've been told for more than a year and a half, we have these fact checks. If you go to Google right now and you look up coronavirus not natural, one of the first things that pops up here is false claim. It's a fact check from routers. These are things that Google's going to direct you to. A claim widely shared on social media. And of course, this is back from a year ago, May 4th, 2020. So more than a year ago, we were being told that there's absolutely no way. We just heard Fauci say it. There's absolutely no way. And now he's walking that back. And he's walking that back because despite everyone claiming conspiracy theory, those facts eventually come out. And we find out that what the left has been screaming conspiracy theory for years ends up being the truth. What is going on? Just amazing. Almost a year and a half later, it's been disclosed that 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick. What did Trump say? What did our president say? I hate to say I told you so many times because I get blue in the face, but the president was right. President Donald Trump was right. The virus may have actually escaped from a laboratory in China, in Wuhan, China specifically, where this pandemic started. Now, that's not saying that China nefariously released a horrible pandemic on the entire world, but that is to say that all of the fact checkers, and again, we're listening to fact checkers here, but all of the fact checkers and Fauci himself, who had said way back then that no, there's no possible way. No, it's completely natural. It's totally natural where it originates from. It's natural. Fauci says this, and it turns out he's full of crap. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or if he does know what he's talking about, he's purposefully lying to you, just like he did with the masks. There it is.
People should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. And, this guy lies through his teeth with a smile every time he tells a lie. You take him at his own words. I don't know what else to say. I don't think there's anything else to say about Fauci. I think we can segue into how inept and how incompetent do you have to be a Democrat and screw up something so beautiful as you walk in to your inauguration. You've been inoculated. You've been vaccinated because President Trump has already built up, using Operation Warp Speed, he's already built up this vaccination regime, this vaccination program, and all you have to do is nothing. All you have to do is let it run its course. All you have to do is utilize the existing infrastructure that was already built for you. They just can't help but screw this up. It's so hilarious to watch, honestly, because, the Democrats are good at one thing and one thing only: convincing their voters that they're the good guys. That's what Democrats are good at. That's what Democrats are good for. Everything else they completely botch from top to bottom. They botched this vaccine rollout. Trump gave them the vaccine. He gave it to them. He gave it to them and said, "Here, take this vaccine." I'm walking out the door. I'm not happy about this, election, but I'm walking out the door. You can have the vaccine. Have fun with it. And what does Biden do? So the initial CDC guidelines were nothing. It didn't matter whether you were vaccinated or not. The initial CDC guidelines were wear a mask everywhere, outdoors, everything. They started to wind back some of those restrictions for both unvaccinated and fully vaccinated people. And this actually caused quite a stir, even among some folks on the left, because they thought this was flat out ridiculous. And let's be honest, it really is. Unvaccinated people, you could walk, run, bike outdoors, any member of your family. You could attend small outdoor gatherings. You could attend small outdoor gatherings with fully vaccinated and unvaccinated people. And you could dine in an outdoor restaurant with friends from multiple households if you were fully vaccinated. But could you attend a crowded outdoor event like a live performance, a parade, or a sporting event? No, absolutely not. Now, keep in mind, at this time, there were already places like Texas who had completely gotten rid of all mask mandates. There were places like Florida that had not really been participating in mask mandates for a long time, and the cases were not rising. They were actually decreasing consistently. So it was amazing to see such really hard-handed guidance, and especially during the time when they were asking for folks to get vaccinated. Well, where's the incentive? There didn't seem or appear to be an incentive. They did finally adjust those guidelines. Not yet, though. They of course kept masks with, barber and hair salons, uncrowded indoor shopping center, museums, so forth and so on and so on. You were being told you could not do anything. Well, just a week or two later, they then finally came out and said, oh, okay, fully vaccinated, you can go maskless if you're fully vaccinated. And then we get Biden coming out, and he gives you that choice, right? You go.
If you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. Let me repeat. If you are fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. But if you've not been vaccinated, or if you're getting a 2-shot vaccine and you've not gotten you only had your first shot, but not your second, or you haven't waited the full 2 weeks after your second shot, you still need to wear a mask. Look, we've gotten this far.
All right. Now, he tweeted this, and he said, the choice is yours. The choice. You gotta love his phrasing here. The choice is yours. Wear a mask or get the vaccine. It is something, one way or the other. It's wear the mask or get the vaccine, or wear the vaccine, get the mask. I don't even know. It doesn't even matter at this point. I've been drinking scotch. Thank you, Dewars. So, I'm just going to make a statement here. I would be vaccinated right now if it wasn't for this incompetent rube. If it wasn't for this massively incompetent idiot, I would be vaccinated. Now, I am fully vaccinated by all FDA-approved vaccines. I am 100% vaccinated from everything that has been fully FDA-approved. I am a bit tepid on this current vaccine, this mRNA vaccine, this experimental vaccine, for a variety of reasons. But I've looked at the research, I've done my homework, and I've decided, you know what? This actually seems rather safe. I personally don't have a problem with the vaccine. I think Pfizer, I think Moderna, I think Johnson & Johnson did quite a good job, and I would be getting a vaccine was it not for this incompetent schmuck up here just botching this entire process, completely ruining this entire process for the American people. All he had to do was say thank you. That's it. Say thank you, Mr. Trump. I appreciate all the hard work your administration has done on Operation Warp Speed. We're going to take this and we're going to run with it. We're going to use your system of distribution, and we're going to make sure that the American people have access to the vaccine, and we're going to recommend it. We're going to provide information about it, but recommendations didn't come, information didn't come, mandates came, and these so-called choices came that had no carrot and no stick. And just a week or two later, the CDC comes out and says, you know what? Yeah, if you're vaccinated, you can go ahead and take off your mask. Well, now you figured it out. There's a little bit of incentive when you're talking about vaccines, right? Look, we all want out of this pandemic. We all want this shit to be over with. You're not helping. As always, the Democrats, ineffectual at policy, always. Trump might have been just the baddest bad orange man that you could ever imagine, but he was very effective in his policies. And you know why? Because he did defer to the experts. He didn't think that he was your parent. He didn't think he was your daddy or your mommy, and he was going to care for all your needs despite what you may think. He gave you the choice, an actual choice, not a bullshit choice, Mr. Biden. You know, I don't even feel like calling you a president. You're a corpse. You're a walking, talking corpse. You know, you should be in a White House. You should definitely be in a White House. You should be in a White House on the lake, be with 24-hour care. That's the kind of, you know, White House you should be in. A White House on a lake that's, you know, open between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. because it's an elder care home. That's where you should be. You know, everybody knows. Nobody's stupid enough to think that you actually run this show. You can't even complete a full sentence without falling apart. You can't make it up the stairs without tripping on your own feet 3 times. You know, pretend that you're the president of the United States of America. Get the hell out of here. Just ridiculous. So that brings me to our next point here on the Radical podcast. We want to talk about how implicit the media is in working with the Democrats. And to understand this, you have to realize that this is not something new. This is something that the Republicans have known for a long, long time. And you know what Trump did? Here's what Trump did. Trump pointed it out. Trump shined a bright, bright light on the fact that ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN were all complicit with the Democrats. They are one in the same. They are the same people. They work. They actually chatter between each other within the same administrations, the same media corporations. They switch places from time to time. You'll see Biden administration officials that have been ex-media and ex-media officials that have been Biden or Obama or Democrat affiliates at some point and have worked together. You know, George Stephanopoulos was the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. This is a report from MRC, which is the Media Research Center. As far as I know, they are still up and running and active, but they pointed out the fact that the media elite voted from 1964 to 1976 at 94%, 86%, 81%, and 81% respectively, all for Democrats. You know, you've got a tiny, tiny little 6%, 14%, 19%, 90% blurb for Republicans. Now, do you think it's gotten better since then? Absolutely not. I would imagine it's gotten far, far worse, judging by what we see in the media. We know for a fact, and this is from a Harvard study, that 94% of the media about Donald Trump, about our last president, probably the only president we've had in the last couple of years, was 92+% negative coverage. And you're going to tell me that this election was free, fair, and balanced? That it was secure? No, you know, I think that the in-kind contribution from the left stream media should be counted as political contributions. I think the FEC needs to dig in deep and hard and actually take down this apparatus that the left has built within our institutions, our media institutions, and start ripping it apart, as in-kind contributions should not be ignored, and they should be counted against the budgets of the reported budgets of the Democrats. Because if you're getting 92% of positive airtime by negatively airing for 4 years against our current president, who still managed to damn near whoop you in an election, I mean, it's rather amazing. And you know, we've still got a lot to go with regards to this election. I don't want to dip into that right now. Definitely want to come back with some sources and information, because there's a lot going on the election front. There's an Arizona audit that is still ongoing. In fact, we should see some results. We should see some great information. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll definitely be sharing everything that comes about from the Arizona audit. But Arizona is definitely not where it's going to end. I think it's a smart start, because it doesn't appear to have any impact, and it might actually be able to pull off something without a lot of obstruction from the Democrats. Although you've got to note there's been a massive amount of obstruction from the Democrats. What on earth are they hiding? What are they afraid of us finding? You know, they are just going after this Arizona audit like... Hey Radicals, I really appreciate you being a part of this experience. I'm going to continue to add new content and information for all of you. Let me know in the comments what you want to see, what you want to hear. Like, subscribe, and keep checking back at www.rightofradical.com for more information. And we will see you soon.